So this whole situation and everything that happened leading up to it, understandably sparking a lot of concern and a lot of questions. So we're bringing in constitutional attorney and legal analyst Andrew Lieb to get a better grasp on things. Thanks for joining us today, Andrew.
Thanks for having me, Eric. This is a big topic.
Yeah, absolutely. But, first, let's get your reaction to this leak and what was in it. It's certainly not something that we see every day in the nation's capital.
I have to start with what was in it. And the biggest thing, and I think President Biden in your previous clip was alluding to it, is the Casey decision, not the Roe decision. What they're doing is that they're changing settled law. Casey was decided by saying, hey, when the Supreme Court ruled, we have to stick to that law. And the shockwaves that are going on right now, I believe, are because this new decision is signaling, hey, we're not just concerned about changing the law on abortion, but there could be changes with same-sex marriage, with making sodomy illegal. That was held to be unconstitutional. So that's one area we have to look at. The second area, as you pointed out, Chief Justice Roberts and the integrity of the court. That's his primary goal as the Chief Justice, is launching an investigation because it's unheard of to see a draft opinion leaked at this type of situation. That being said, I have to tell you, I think this will be similar to the final decision based on how the court is leaning.
So some larger ramifications, as I understand it, but specifically when it comes to reproductive rights, if this is how the Supreme Court eventually does decide, can you explain to our viewers the immediate effects out there? I know there's trigger laws in certain states, but things might not change everywhere, at least not all at once.
Well, the most immediate goes like this. Before Roe v. Wade, many states made any abortion illegal. We were just talking about how Roe was originally decided. Many of those states never took away the laws when Roe v. Wade was decided. So immediately, the day the opinion becomes a final draft published opinion, there's going to be states in the United States where it is completely illegal to get an abortion. Now, that also becomes another issue. Why? Because if it goes to the states, it depends on who's in control of the state at any given time. Unless the state or the federal government have it in the Constitution, legislature changes like the wind. So we could see a state, even a state like New York, a liberal state like New York, could have different people in power in the future, and then abortion could become illegal. So what's going to happen is it's going to become what's called a political football. And I predict we're going to see the biggest turnout both for pro-life and pro-choice when it comes to the midterm elections. I don't think we're going to ever see such a turnout in the midterm elections because this is a political football that charges everybody.
So speaking of turnout, there are already people out there in D.C. trying to make their voices heard. But from a legal standpoint specifically, is there anything they can expect to accomplish, given that this is the highest court in the land? Is there a courtroom process to question or appeal the Supreme Court?
It's the only way that this case came before the Supreme Court. What's going to happen is there's going to be other cases that come out just like Roe came out, or this Mississippi case that we're dealing with right now. If your question is, can you re-argue? Is your question, is there a court to appeal to? Can you go to the president or to the UN? None of that can happen. The only thing that can happen is a state could pass a law that challenges it again, and then the Supreme Court has to decide. They can't be forced. They have to decide to take up that law. So only when we see new Supreme Court justices can this change in the future, in my opinion.
So there's one other channel I've seen out there. In particular, it was put out by Senator Bernie Sanders, echoed by Chuck Schumer, saying Congress should codify Roe v. Wade. Can you explain what that means and what would it take to get that done?
Well, I think you're talking to what I was just saying, and I agree that Congress could codify Roe v. Wade. And what Bernie Sanders expressly said, and I'm paraphrasing, I think you have it up on the screen right now, is he said, hey, we should get rid of the filibuster so we can have the Senate, which is controlled minimally by Democrats, pass this new law. But the problem with Senator Sanders' approach is as soon as the Republicans take Congress and take the presidency, which will eventually happen, then we're going to have it uncodified. You see, legislation can change based on who's in power. The only way to accomplish what Senator Sanders is really saying is to have a constitutional amendment. Unfortunately, we're not going to get the votes for a constitutional amendment either way. You see, I'm all about settled law. We need to know and have predictability of the future. And what Senator Sanders is saying is Congress should take this up. However, you're going to see every time there's an election, the main event is going to be, are you pro-choice or pro-life when we're electing?
That certainly stands to reason, and more to come from the nation's capital about all of this. Andrew Lieb, thanks so much for coming on to explain things to us today.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.